Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we prepare for the 12th race of the season for the RTG Dirt Street Stock Series. We are here today getting ready for the qualifying races and the 50-lap main event at Limaland Motorsports Park. This is a track that I'm not all that familiar with. I'm joined by Samuel Dyer. Sam, you familiar with this dirt track and maybe can shed some light on what these drivers have to encounter today?
It's one of the shortest tracks these drivers are going to have to deal with. It's a quarter of a mile here at Limaland, and it is short. It's pretty narrow at times, and it's going to be all about getting to the inside for the first part of these heat races. It's going to be very fast to watch these drivers going. I've got my eyes on Stephen Robbins as well as Martin Karch in this heat number one.
Well, Steve Robbins coming into this race is second in the points, only 5 points behind the points leader Timothy DeSchwart, who we'll see in a later heat. The green flag is in the air. It's Terry Bauman, Steve Robbins, Sean Kerrigan, Scott Monksgaard, and Martin Karch here in this heat for these 5 drivers for 8 laps.
And just like that, Robbins straight to the inside. Karch going to be trying that third lane all the way at the top, just trying to wall ride in around here, and it's kind of carrying him a lot of momentum. But Steve Robbins going to be leading the charge. Just 3-wide action here for second place.
Oh, man, and Terry Bauman pushed up the track into Monksgaard, puts him into the wall, then made some contact with Martin Karch as well.
And just like that, your top 3 pulling away. As it's coming into the pits, it's going to be Scott Monksgaard. That is just done. There's nothing else that this 44 machine can do except for pit and wait for the feature.
Well, I'm not sure he even came to pit road of his own fruition. I think when that car hit the wall, it turned down the racetrack into the infield, and so that's why he's being serviced. Unfortunately for him, he'll be starting towards the rear of the field for the 50-lap main event. Steve Robbins, though, these heats are done at random as to who's in what heat, and it's also at random of where they start in those heats. Well, for Steve Robbins right now, out in front in this first heat, that means right now these drivers are basically battling for who's going to be the pole sitter when we get to the 50-lap feature.
Yeah, and based on how many drivers are going to be going for this race, this second place position could be trying to figure out if you're going to be in 4th place or not. It's either going to be for 4th or for 5th place. It matters on how many heats we run here with a total of 13 drivers here today. 5 drivers in this first heat. We'll see how many are left in the rest as Steve Robbins still continues to pull away. Karch into 2nd, Bauman into 3rd.
And this is one of those unique dirt tracks as well. You notice right there, you've got some white painted tires halfway out of the dirt, kind of indicating where the apron of the racetrack is. Normally these drivers, they have a wall down there or maybe some grass to be able to gauge it. Not exactly very clear markers for these drivers to know where the racetrack starts and the apron ends.
Not really. White flag in the air as Steve Robbins comes around turn 3 and 4. Going to become your pole sitter and your winner of heat number 1.
Martin Karch is going to cross in 2nd. Terry Bauman in 3rd. Oh, no, as soon as I say that, Karch actually spun it out of the final corner. Terry Bauman's going to get 2nd. Kerrigan 3rd. Karch all the way back to 4th.
And Karch was not able to finish this race out, and that's going to be putting Karch 4th on the board as Monksgaard is going to be stuck on pit road, 5th place.
Wow, how about that? That kind of a turn of event as it looked like very easily Martin Karch was going to be starting up at least inside of the top 5, maybe to your point, inside of the top 4, as it almost looks like you are correct. And we're going to have 3 heats here for this one. 5 drivers now getting ready for the second heat, and we'll have 3 drivers in the third and final heat. And one of those drivers is going to be Timothy DeSchwart. The 5 drivers here in Heat 2, Patrick Spangler on point, alongside of 2-time winner Grant Wesley, Michael Massey in 3rd, Ryan Stillwell, who we'll see later on trying to hold the points lead in the late models race. He's 4th, and Brian Hogue right now going to be the 5th driver in this second heat.
Yeah, no, this second heat, though, it's kind of a wild card. We knew Stephen Robbins as well as Karch were going to be very quick drivers that when they were going to be up front. This heat, though, I really don't have a favorite to mark down. Everyone here is pretty quick and has a chance to win this thing.
In this heat, we've only got 2 former winners this season. We already mentioned Wesley in the 88 2 times he's been to victory lane. Ryan Stillwell has been to victory lane once in this series, as the pace truck will be heading down pit road this next time by, turning these drivers loose for 8 laps. And these 8 laps are 8-lap heats. No cautions come out during it. So if you make a mistake, as we saw earlier, there's no opportunity to be able to come back unless you're able to keep going and capitalize on other drivers' misfortunes.
Yeah, Grant Wesley got a fabulous start on the outside. Car spinning in the inside, though. That's going to be Michael Massey going a little bit off course. Still running straight, though, as we're starting to see the battle for second place underway. Stillwell is coming with a head of steam on that inside.
Ryan Stillwell going to edge ahead for the moment. We'll see if Spangler can battle back on the top side. He'll at least get to the right rear, but Stillwell seems to be pretty well hooked up on the bottom. We also have to remember, too, for these drivers that are in the second and third heat, they are at a bit of a disadvantage because they're out there running on the same track conditions that were left by the heat prior. So they're down there searching, and I think Brian Hogue may have actually been searching a little too low for a brief moment there through 3 and 4.
Yeah, right now the track hasn't evolved enough to where the inside is too slick to be running. It's still workable as you're starting to see drivers trying to work on that outside as contact made. Stillwell and also Spangler going around.
And Spangler's going to get the short end of the stick on that one. He's facing the wrong way on the front straightaway, and he's actually going to teleport that car to pit road. So it looks like he will be conceding the 5th position here, as this battle for the heat win may not be over. We've got 3 laps to go, and it's a very short gap between Grant Wesley and Ryan Stillwell.
Yeah, Stillwell, though, is getting not the best exit right now. His entry kind of looking like he's trying to arc it in and really carry the momentum through the center of the corner, but he's losing a lot of ground as the battle for 3rd place now underway. Massey's caught back up to Hogue.
And he's going to get alongside. Contact made. They're going to keep it together for the moment. Whoa, we just barely had him cleared into turn 1, and now the crossover here by Hogue.
Hogue's going to get to the inside as we're coming up to the white flag right now. Grant Wesley looking dominant. Stillwell not able to gain up time. It's this battle for 3rd place that continues on. And there goes Massey around as Hogue continues on.
And Massey's up and on his roof. Hogue is stopped up in turn 1. As Grant Wesley off the final corner will come around and receive the checkered flag. He'll win the 2nd heat, followed by Stillwell. Looks like they're going to score Hogue in 3rd, Massey in 4th. Neither of them made it back to the checkers, and Spangler will finish in 5th.
And that's one of the things that we could possibly be seeing again during our featured race is cars making contact and cars flipping upside down. And these street stocks, they're durable at times. You can take a lot of contact on these street stocks and still run pretty quick. But at the same time, like you saw there, you can honestly flip these things over just that easily.
And we said there were only going to be 3 drivers in this 3rd heat. There was actually a driver that slipped into practice just in the closing stages. There were actually going to be 14 drivers that will take the green here tonight. 4 drivers here in this 3rd and final heat. Brian Ordo will be the pole sitter for this one alongside of Brandon Surrett. Timothy DeSchwartz, he is the driver that comes into this race leading the point standings in the series. And Mason Nichols is going to be rolling off 4th in this 3rd and final heat. This is basically a battle to see who's going to start 3rd for the 50-lap main event.
And 3rd place isn't a bad place to be. You're going to be on the inside. If the cars in front of you don't get a good launch, you could be taking a lot of positions and finding yourself up front. So winning this heat is very important for these drivers.
Brian Ordo comes into this race 6th in the point standings. Timothy DeSchwartz, we already mentioned, the points leader. Those are the only 2 in this heat that are inside the top 10 in the point standings coming into tonight's race. And this is the heat of the drivers that are at the hugest disadvantage, I think, here, Sam, because a lot of the lines now have been rubbered in. There's not a lot of grip to be found, but at the same time, that might actually be a good thing for us as spectators, because not knowing where the grip is, we could be in for a pretty interesting finish between these 4.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing cars split, really. That middle groove is starting to see a lot more wear and tear and starting to get a little bit darker, showing it's drying up. These drivers are going to be going for much closer to the high side of the wall, or even close to where you're seeing those tires, white tires popping up. That's green flag out in the air. Ordo's going to be trying to go, gets a bump, and tries to go on the inside, as it's going to be 3 wide, almost 4 wide, lead on the back stretch.
Gracious, they were almost 4 wide. You're right, they were 3 wide, as that was the 22 up on the top side there of Surrett trying to make that high line work, and they're 3 wide for 2nd still.
Yeah, they cannot figure out where they want to be, and just like that, you're seeing all 3 lanes work very well on where you want to go, and it's all about sliding up like we're seeing right there from Nichols, but it's just not enough. You lose so much momentum from going from the inside up to the wall. The outside lane just gets such a better run, and that's why they're still 3 wide for 2nd place.
But it looks like that time off of turn 4, DeSchwartz was a little bit slower on corner exit. He may be losing these guys here, as now the battle will be side by side for second place. And let's remember the situation here for Tim DeSchwart, because comes into this race 5 points ahead of Steve Robbins. Well, Robbins is scheduled to start on the pole for the main event as, Nichols almost loses it, goes over one of the tires there, but keeps it straight.
Yeah, if you go over the tires and you make it equal with your tires right through the middle, you're good. If you hit it with any of your tires, though, you find yourself flipping as your coach just work, trying to figure out how to get up at least up to second place. If you finish last here, you're going to be starting at the end of the line during this whole featured race, and you do not want to be there. We've already seen how difficult it is to try to make passes, as these drivers still can't figure out who's going to be in second place.
Yeah, they're trying to shoot up the middle. They're trying the top. They're trying the bottom. Right now, Brian Ordo has this race pretty well in command. It's the battle for second place here as now DeSchwart goes way up to the top side. Nichols, he gets up into Surratt, and they're 3 wide again going into turn 1.
You got to give a lot of credit to Nichols here as he continues to having issues.
No,
and there goes DeSchwart. DeSchwart gets spun around, Nichols gets going, and just like that on the white flag, we can be finding ourselves having DeSchwart on the back end, as looks like Nichols was waiting and DeSchwart gonna be parking it. Nichols gonna get third.
Yeah, I think maybe Nichols was trying to do what we call the gentleman's rule, wait for the car that he spun out, try and give up the position, but to your point, DeSchwart out of the race, so he'll be 4th, Nichols 3rd, Surratt brings it home 2nd, with Ordo going to be starting 3rd for the main event, winning this 3rd and final heat, and this is going to really be interesting because it's 2 drivers, 2 different situations for the 50-lapper. You've got Steve Robbins starting on point. The driver he's trying to take the points lead from, Timothy DeSchwart, looks like he's going to be rolling off from the 7th position.
As drivers are going to be having a quick 5-minute warm-up time before the featured race. 50 laps here later tonight. I mean, we've already seen cars are going to be spinning. There's going to be accidents to be seen here for this featured race. Who will survive? I mean, even if you're up front with how much more cars we're going to have in the field and how short this track is, if you spin out in the back half of the field, your leader's going to be right there and has to avoid that accident.
Well, not only that, but we also have to remember, too, as opposed to the ASRA Dirt Series that we end up broadcasting, and we see a lot of these names racing that, here tonight for the 50-lap main event, caution laps do count. So, 50 laps may seem like a long time, but when you factor in that we could see maybe 2, 3, 4 cautions, the amount of laps that are going to be done during that segment, it's really a limited number of laps for these drivers that are starting towards the rear of the field.
Yeah, it is going to be very difficult. And looking at the field and where drivers are going to be at, it's going to be at the back half of the field, last car on the line. It's going to be Patrick Spengler. Then you've got Scott, you got Monksgaard, and then Schwartz going to be back in 12th place starting back here. So not going to be the last car in the line, but certainly not where you want to be on the back half of the field.
Well, these drivers continue to get the warm-up session here, get back used to this track. They're going to be having the track at wetted conditions when we go green for this 50-lap main event. So we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. We'll be back here for the green flag as we're here live for the RTG Dirt Street Stock Series at Limaland Motorsport Park.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the veterans of foreign wars and fights for the veterans community.
The veterans of foreign wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Most everyone involved in sim racing always wants that edge or even make the experience a little bit better, or in this case, a little bit more in depth. Enter Iracing Iflag. Iflag is a simulation signal box with software designed by Peter Vostro. When you are behind the wheel in iRacing, your eyes are looking down the track or maybe even in the rear or side view mirrors. You may not notice or even hear when the caution comes out, when your car is damaged, or if you get black flagged, or even notice the car beside you. Yes, Iflag will point out the signs and tell you where that car is. It just makes iRacing more real and can help you become a better driver. We also offer iRacing Iflag Digital Pit Box. This small box is a great addition to any sim rig. With only 3.5 inches wide, it gives you all the information you need, including how many laps completed, how much fuel you will need to finish, what lap you need to pit on, laps till your fuel is empty, as well as weather and track conditions. It also switches when you come down pit road for more information, including what lap you're pitting under, tire wear, laps on tires, fuel average, and much, much more. To see more info, check us out today at iracingiflag.com.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs.
We welcome you back here to the RTG Dirt Street Stock Series. We're getting ready to go racing 50 laps here at Limaland Motorsports Park. Steve Robbins set to roll off from the pole position alongside of Grant Wesley, Brian Ordo, and Terry Bauman in row 2. Ryan Stillwell completes top 5. 6th is Brandon Surratt. 7th, Sean Kerrigan. Michael Massey in 8th. Mason Nichols 9th. Martin Karch in 10th. Brian Hogues in 11th. Your points leader coming into tonight, Tim DeSchwartz, starting all the way back in 12th. With Scott Monksgaard and Patrick Spangler bringing up the rear of the field. 5-point separation, as we said here tonight, Sam, between DeSchwartz and Steve Robbins. Robbins with the advantage, but you were talking about the fact as this race progresses, we're going to see a lot of what we saw in that third heat, drivers really having to do a lot of searching.
Yeah, that third heat, you were seeing cars being 3 wide and being pretty equal on where they were at. That's pretty much what our halfway of this featured race is going to look like. Once we get to the later half of this race, it's going to be a lot of searching of how much lower can I go to find grip? How much higher do I need to be to find better grip? Because it's going to get very slick once you get to the halfway marker. But for the first 25 laps, I'm expecting drivers to really just hunt for that inside line. Drivers will feel a lot more comfortable on the outside. They're going to try to just completely keep it on rails up there. But it is going to be a wild race up here. I'm excited to see how Tim DeSchwartz is going to have to move through the field. Like you said, he's our points leader, but this is not the start that he wanted. Who else can be moving up the field with him?
Yeah, DeSchwartz is one of 3 former winners in the field here tonight, along with Grant Wesley and Ryan Stillwell. Looks like 13 drivers will actually be taking the green, as Michael Massey, who was scheduled to roll off from 8th, did not make it onto the grid before they rolled off behind the pace truck, who now makes the left-hand turn to pit road. And we're ready to go racing here at Limaland. Already contact before the green.
Yeah, we're already seeing contact for the drivers that are back in 4th place as they continue to pump. And now they're already 3 wide, scattered and onto the outside wall. These drivers got to be careful as they continue moving forward. It's going to be Grant Wesley leading the charge, but Steve Robbins on the inside as they're all 4 wide back of that.
Brian Ordo and Ryan Stillwell, they were door banging for a brief moment. They're 3 wide, 4 wide back here. And right in the middle of that, you saw the contact. That's Timothy DeSchwartz in the 49. He got hit in the driver's side door by Martin Karch. And right now, that 49 is just kind of boxed in right now. Can make no forward progress because every lane he chooses, there's someone in front of him.
Yeah, right now he's got to be careful as Karch and others are making a lot of contact. DeSchwartz, he might have hit the wall off at exit of 2. But, I mean, these drivers are trying everything they can to get as much speed into these cars, but due to the fact that it's a quarter mile, there's not a lot of momentum that you carry through. You just got to make a bold move to the inside and hope that it sticks.
Harry Bauman, Brian Hogue, they're battling right now for 6th. Martin Karch and Brandon Surratt right in the middle of this as well. Going back to that wall hit by Timothy DeShort, you talked about how durable these street stocks are as Martin Karch nearly loses it, but how many shots into that outside wall can you take?
Whoa! Robin gets absolutely spun, and there he goes again as our first yellow of the day comes out. But with what you were talking about, these cars can take a lot of side damage, a lot of it. You can bump each other a ton. It's when you take front nose damage that you have to be very concerned about. If you get low on power, you really don't have a chance here, as Robin is going to be quite irritated. But the first thing that got him out of shape was one of the weirder things. Once he got hit by Stillwell, that machine just got completely out of shape, and Ordo had nowhere to go.
It's hard to tell. I mean, you can see that with these street stocks, the wheels are exposed. Was there maybe some contact between the left rear wheel of Stillwell and the left rear wheel of Robin, maybe?
Yeah, there was contact, because once they made a contact, it bounced the 073 up in the air, and it kind of got him completely 45 degrees sideways. And just that little bump, if you hit it just the right way, there might be some netcode that will throw the car up. And now we're waiting for these cars to get set up again. Also, in other news, it looks like Michael Massey has come back, and they are giving him a wave around to get him back on the lead lap.
So Michael Massey will be able to compete here to try and make his way up through the field. It looks like the 073 of Steve Robbins came down pit road. These drivers do have one fast repair at their disposal for this entire 50-lap main event, and Robbins has already used his up. So if he gets involved in another wreck, it's basically you've got what you've got here for these final 44 laps or so.
Now, for the first 3 cautions to come out, these drivers will do side-by-side restarts like you're seeing now. Pace truck is off, green flag's out in the air. After 3 cautions, we'll go single file action as we're back to green flag racing. Grant Wesley taking Stillwell with them, and here comes Nichols in that 55.
And they're 3 wide, 4 wide behind him again. That's Brian Hogue there in the 14, Brian Ordo in the 71, Martin Karch. Wow, Stillwell out of shape there, and there's another car back there. I think that was Spangler got out of shape.
That was Bauman that got completely out of shape. Also, Stillwell and Nichols are just bouncing off one another for this second place position. Honestly, everyone is going to use everything they can. Like I said, these cars are very durable. They can make some contact. Right now, Ordo is really getting ran over right now by Karch. I mean, not Karch, but by, it looks like DeShort that's trying to make the best moves he can at the moment, trying to go lower than everyone else to try to make some moves.
More contact there between the 49 and the 14 as they remain 3 wide. Martin Karch, the bright pink and white 33 up on the top side of this 3 wide situation. This is all going on behind a side-by-side battle behind Surratt and Ordo, and you've also got Steve Robbins trying to make the comeback here. He's trying to get up at least in the vicinity of that 49.
Yeah, Steve Robbins is probably the car that's going to be trying to make this 4 wide action, as they're almost 4 wide again, as DeShort's going to be trying to get by the 14 and does get by Hogue for a second. But like we said, they're going to be digging for space, digging for just any type of rubber here. We're only on lap 12. It's going to get only worse from here, and they cannot stay like this for long.
Right now, Wesley's out in front. He's got a pretty good lead of about a car length and a half back to Stillwell. Then it's another car length and a half back to Nichols in third. This is where the battling's going on, and you talked about space. I mean, we're watching these drivers be snappy loose off the corner as Martin Karch nearly loses it. And these drivers are 3 wide coming off of a rather congested exit off of 2 and 4 while they're trying to gather their car up. At the same time, they're side-by-side battling. There's really limited space to gather a car back up.
Surratt just got into the wall hard in that 73 machine. I'm stuck on the high side and just snuck up on him on the off corner number 4 last lap. And they're going to be 4, almost 5 wide here. And right now, Robbins has got to figure out where he's going to stick his nose, because he's trying the outside groove. it's going to be really the outside is going to be the more preferred line the longer this run goes on. So if you're stuck up there, it might not be a terrible thing, but for these first couple of laps, the cars that are on the inside, they're trying to dig as much as they can as Robbins stuck in the middle, and that's not where you want to be at all.
Well, he was making some forward progress, but then Brian Hogue ahead of him was running the same line, so then that stifled his momentum. Now he's trying to figure out a way around that 14, all the while being in the middle of a 3-wide situation.
That's one of the big things. I mean, you have to try to run somewhere else where the other cars are, but sometimes there's just one lane that feels like it's moving so much faster than everyone else, and then you catch someone that's just running that lane wrong compared to the way you were, and then you just feel stalled out, and that's what we're seeing.
Oh!
The 73 back in the wall again.
That was actually the 22. Surratt up and into the wall and actually had his right side tires up off the ground. Robbins was able to get past him, so he's been able to make forward progress now up to the 6th position. Again, Martin Karch nearly out of shape. He gets into, I believe that was Scott Monksgaard. He almost spun it out. So far, though, they all keep it straight, all keep it green.
And the battle for the lead is now underway as Ryan Stillwell has finally caught up to Grant Wesley. And they are side by side for a second here, but if we stay green all the way to the end, there's a possible chance we could be seeing ourselves with lap traffic.
And we need to remember, too, that Ryan Stillwell, he still has a shot here. After tonight, there's still 4 races left in the season. He's only 19 points back. We saw Tim DeSchwart towards the rear of the field after his qualifying heat. Steve Robbins got spun out while battling for second, so Stillwell has a shot here, even if he finishes second or wins this race, of closing up that points gap with 4 races left.
Robin right now in 6th place, DeShort back in 7th, and they're all in line now. They've now migrated to the outside lane. This is what I was talking about. That middle lane starts to fade away, and you start to see cars start to fade up, and that really the bottom groove just disappears after a while.
If that bottom groove is non-existent, then obviously that's going to make it a lot more difficult for drivers to pass, which says to me, if we start entering into the second half of the race, they're going to be more than willing to use the bumper to get that driver out of their way because both drivers want the same groove.
Also, you have to figure out how do you want to re-enter these corners as this track evolves. You might want to think about diving in a little bit sooner so you get a better exit and drive lower off the exit. But it's all about how you want to re-enter and find that speed off the corner for these drivers, because you can really have a good entry. You can just throw it on the inside and gain as much, but you're going to lose that off your exit. And right now, Steve Robin able to try to make a move here on Hogue, as that now he's on the outside of that 14 machine.
Behind them, DeSchwart and Karch battling. That's for the 7th position, and we saw just moments ago that battle for the lead is gone. Grant Wesley's been able to really open up the distance between himself and Ryan Stillwell, but at the same time, you talked about with it being a short track, slower traffic is starting to come into play for our race leader.
Yeah, right now, DeSchwart's getting a bunch of bumps from Karch right now. That 33 machine wants to go, and there is no space really where everyone's running. You gotta see if someone's gonna poke their nose, try that inside line out, and it's just not working at all, as that outside groove is getting completely worn in at this point as we're all the way past halfway, and it's only gonna get worse from here on out. These drivers might have to search. Does the inside lane have a little bit more grip than the outside now after we've been running it for so long?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. You talked about here when we were in the middle of warm-up how this is one of those tracks where you can definitely see which groove has been rubbered in more, because with the way that the dirt is here, it actually lightens up. I mean, you look right there, that groove that Grant Wesley's going through, it's a really, really light tan. It's still a somewhat darker brown down that inside line, which says to me, to your point, that inside line is viable if somebody wanted to try and go down there.
Yeah, Brian Ordo is going to be that driver that's trying it, losing time though, as right now Steve Robbins is cruising, but behind them you got 4 cars all clustered up, where you've got Tim DeSchwart, Karch, Massey, and Hogue all on top of one another, battling for the 6th place position.
Yeah, Brian Hogue down that inside line looks really loose, especially to the center of the corner. Almost looped it around that last time through 3 and 4. How about Michael Massey? Missed the start of this race, got his laps back after our first and only caution up to this point. Right now up there trying to take away the 8th position away from Hogue. Got the battle up ahead of these guys though, going on for the 4th position. Robbins continuing to try and make forward progress, trying to get to the back bumper of Brian Orta, but it almost looks like instead of gaining on the 71, he's losing ground to these 4 behind him.
Yeah, I mean, you're losing a lot of time at this point. Caution has not come out for these drivers in a while, and if one does come out, you're going to be running out of time. If you're going to be wanting to make any passes, it takes about 2 to 3 laps to really secure a pass on just one driver, and if we're not going to get a caution here soon, you're losing time on making any more moves forward.
Boy, Martin Karch is about to do what we term send him into the corner. He has been all over the back bumper of Tim DeSchwart on corner entry. Now the good news for DeSchwart is the fact since both of them are on the outside line, if contact's made, he'll probably go up into the wall, be able to keep it straight, but at the same time, he doesn't want to sustain damage on that 49 car.
No, he really doesn't want any type of damage at this point of this stage, because if you have to come into the pits to get damage repaired, you're going to be at the end of the line, losing all that time. Luckily, right now, we only have one driver, one lap down, about to be 2, as Terry Blauman going to be under fire right now in that 69 machine. But, I mean, that group of cars right now, DeSchwart under heavy fire, as right now, Karch on the high side, trying to carry momentum as DeSchwart gets a little out of shape. It could be finding himself losing even more positions.
And they're starting to catch up to some of that traffic that Grant Wesley encountered a couple laps ago. That's the 15 of Sean Kerrigan, who was the first car put a lap down. So, you know, at the same time of Kerrigan trying to get out of the way of these race leaders, where in the world do you go in a dirt track like this?
There's really not many places you can go. I mean, on the straightaway, maybe duck it to the inside, but in these corners, you're going to have to hold your line and hope that the driver behind you is able to avoid you at all costs. You got to hold your line. That is the key here. If you try to make any aggressive moves of just bolting one direction or the other, you could be finding yourself getting spun or spinning another driver out.
You saw right there Sean Kerrigan go down to the inside. He actually goes down below that tire barrier we were just talking about there, that kind of boundary area, trying to get out of the way of the 49 of Tim DeSchwart, and that actually didn't work. That actually slowed the 49 up, who now looks to take him in the middle 3 wide.
Laps are counting down as Grant Wesley comes across the line. 10 laps to go for these drivers.
And that really hurt Tim DeSchwart, not only in terms of track position, but also in terms of points. He's lost a position now to Michael Massey, currently running 3 positions behind Steve Robbins. So right now, Robin would be cutting into that points lead by a pretty good margin.
Yeah, right now, DeSchwart's still under fire by other cars, so this is gonna get more and more nerve-wracking for this 49 machine, excuse me, as right now, right under, as it looks like.
Spinner. That's Martin Karch right in front of the field there, right in front of about 5th place. Caution's gonna come out.
Caution gonna come out. It looks like Karch just looping it on himself, and he was running that outside groove, and it's just, once this whole entire track gets worn in, you find those spots where your car just loses it once you get back onto the throttle.
Martin Karch trying to find an area to be able to get his car refired, as it was just a conveyor belt of race cars coming out of turn 4. He finally does get the thing refired and continue on. We'll go back and see what happened to him. You talked about him running up there way on the top side. We'll see if there was any contact or if he just brushed the wall, and it looks like actually the wall is the culprit of this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you make any type of contact, it's going to hurt you greatly. As just got word these drivers are going to go single file restarts due to the fact that it's less than 10 laps to go for these drivers, as everyone's going to race into the pace truck, try to get back underway, as we are less than 10 laps to go once we go green again.
Boy, what an area for that spin out to take place. You had it right in front of guys like Brian Ordo, Steve Robbins, Michael Massey, Tim DeSchwart, and the lap machine of Sean Kerrigan, as the green flag back in the air. It's going to be 9 laps to go, making 8 laps to go for these drivers. And this was maybe the one driver didn't want to see that caution come out in Grant Wesley, because now he's got Ryan Stillwell battling into the inside.
Stillwell's going to be trying to use that inside groove, but can he stick? He's right there. He's just made it side by side. He's on the quarter panel. Stillwell has a chance to get this done as he continues to push each time, each corner, and gets a little bit further out in front of this 88 machine.
Both these drivers have been to victory lane this season. Wesley with the crossover out of 4. Stillwell drifted up just a little too high. Now back to the inside comes the 9.
They cross back and forth, 6 laps to go, and right now, as they continue to do back and forth, they're going to continue continue to get closer on these front two as Grant Wesley goes a little bit too high. And here comes Stillwell, and don't look now. Here comes Nichols. Here comes Orno. It's 5 laps to go.
The two of them made contact all the way through 1 and 2 that last time around. It slowed them up too much and brought 3rd through 5th onto their back door. Here comes Steve Robbins from out of nowhere. He shoots up the middle 3 wide for 3rd.
Honestly, if you are still back even in 6th place with the way that these guys are racing up front, they're not giving an inch. They're using every part of this track. They can be giving you a chance. 4 laps to go.
Oh, Stillwell!
Stillwell goes around, and it's going to be Steve Robbins in 2nd now.
Caution's going to come out as Stillwell does get hit. That's the 22 of Brandon Surratt that got him there as his car came to a halt in the middle of 1 and 2. Yellow flag going to come out here, and now the question is, I think we're going to get back green, but how many laps will be left?
Maybe 1 or 2 at most. I mean, it took they're pretty quick to get back under green last time. But man, I'm intrigued to see how these drivers are going to go this time around. As looking at the board as these drivers want to cross the line, I don't know if these laps are being counted for yellows.
No, I guess they're not. I thought they were, but apparently you're right. They are not being counted, so it would be 3 laps when we go back green here. And there you saw the contact of Surratt getting into the back of Stillwell, and this caution has changed up a lot as well in terms of the battle we were watching between Timothy DeSchwart and Steve Robbins. Robbins now up to 2nd, and right now Timothy DeSchwart quite a ways back behind him. I think right now DeSchwart is currently being scored in the 7th position, so Robbins, I think, might be tied right now, depending on what the point situation is, with Tim DeSchwart, based on where they're both running.
Well, Mason Nichols did not care about that restart. Got a fabulous run as he tries to stay on the inside. But Stillwell's got to be frustrated being all the way back to where he is now.
Stillwell right now back in the 13th position. Last car on the lead lap. As Scott Munksgaard's actually been sitting on pit road for the last 6 laps or so. It's 3 cars battling for the win right now. Wesley, Robbins, and Nichols, and it looks like they will make it back to the white flag.
White flag in the air. Grant Wesley trying to make this outside line work. He's been there all race long. Now it's going to be Steve Robbins on the inside. He's got 1 more corner to give it a chance.
How deep does he drive it? Steve Robbins trying to get alongside. Will he try and slide up into the 88? No, he won't. Wesley's going to hang on by about a car length and get his 3rd win of the season.
Steve Robbins 2nd, Mason Nichols is going to get 3rd, Orno 4th, and it's going to be Michael Massey, who did not be there, wasn't there for the grid, but that first caution helped him out to get back on the lead lap, a 5th place finish for that 45 machine.
And your points leader, Tim DeSchwart, will finish behind Brian Hogue, Martin Karch, that's 6th and 7th. DeSchwart will finish in 8th. With Robbins finishing 2nd, we could very well be looking into a new points leader heading into next week's race at Eldora.
And it's just wild to see how these drivers were able to move throughout this track, and it makes you even more excited with the bigger and badder machines later on tonight.
Here's a look at the finishing results from this one. How about Mason Nichols there? I think this is the first time since FRN started broadcasting the series that he's actually making his broadcast debut. Solid outing here tonight, not only in the main event, but he was very competitive in his heat as well.
Yeah, almost won both the main event and the heat. Had a very quick car. I mean, looking at some of the fastest lap times that have been ran, fastest lap goes to Grant Wesley. Nichols, though, was very close. I believe he was in the top 5 of fastest cars here on the track.
Grant Wesley continues to do some donuts here. Wouldn't necessarily call them burnouts because you can't really see the smoke at a dirt track, but as he celebrates the victory, let's see if we can get some interviews with our top 3 finishers who are going to be celebrating their good finishes here tonight and looking to capitalize on the late model race here momentarily that'll be taking place at the same venue. Let's go down and see if we can get our 3rd place finisher, Mason Nichols.
User was moved to
Hey Mason, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Man, what a great run for you here tonight. Right up there in the conversation until the end to possibly win this thing. But we also saw you be competitive back there in your heat race as well. Was there anything from the competitiveness of that heat that you were able to apply here to the closing stages of this race?
Well, in the heat race, I was really searching around trying to find a line that was going to work, high, low. And in there at the end, you see me get into Tim. I didn't mean to do that intentionally. It looked bad, but I didn't. But we had a good run going. I was just happy to come out here and run with these guys, and for y'all for broadcasting it, man. We had a great time.
Yeah, Mason, I mean, coming into this race, 3 starts, and in those 3 starts, 2 top 5s. You pick up your 3rd top 5 in your 4th start here. Obviously, it looks like that car is capable of winning a race. Do you see yourself in victory lane here with 4 races remaining at some point?
Man, I don't know, but we're going to give it a try anyways. These guys here are some tough guys to run with, and we just have fun doing it.
Yeah, Mason, I mean, after this race in the street stocks, does that help you in any way for later on this evening?
I'm hoping so, but we'll shortly find out.
Well, Mason, congratulations on a great run here at Limaland. 3rd place performance for you. Very competitive all race long, as well as we mentioned in your qualifying race as well. So keep this momentum up. Hopefully we can maybe see you in victory lane before the season comes to a close, and we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Thank you, sir. I just want to thank all the guys for letting me run with y'all. I've had a blast for the last, I guess, about a year running with you guys, just coming in when I can and having a good time. I appreciate you, Grant, and everybody, and Brian, and all the rest of the gang.
Well, that's Mason Nichols' podium finish here tonight at Limaland Motorsports Park. Congratulations once again there, Mason, and maybe we'll talk to you again here momentarily after the late model race.
We sure hope.
User was moved out of your channel.
Get our 2nd place finisher, and I put this as a question mark, new points leader, Steve Robbins.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey, Steve, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I'm here.
Well, man, there's no doubt about it. If we had to give a comeback of the race to somebody, it would be you. Early issues there, getting spun out from battling for 2nd place. You battle yourself right back up to that 2nd position. But we saw you there in the hunt for that win with that late race caution. What little more grip did you need to be able to get that 88 at the line?
Oh, I don't know. I think if he would have went up a little higher and I could have gotten a little more through the middle like I was running, either that or go high, one or the other. The bottom that wasn't there, but I couldn't go where he was at, and there was just not enough power coming out of the corner. I think there was a little too much grip in spots.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, this was a wild race from our point of view. Guys going 3, 4 wide. We saw you get into the wall a couple of times. Did that affect you at any moment during this race?
No, that was fine. I lost a little momentum hitting the wall a couple of times, but getting spun at the beginning and getting wheel damage right away is really what did it for me. And then the top side of that track just came in, and I was a rocket until I got towards the front.
Well, Steve, we talked about the situation of the points coming into tonight's race. 5-point separation between you and Timothy DeSchwartz, who was leading the points coming into this one. Finishing 2nd place here tonight, you could very well be the new points leader heading into next week at Eldora. A lot of times we talk to drivers and ask them about point situations, and they say they don't even look at the points, really. At what stage of the season do you start looking at the points with the championship hanging in the balance?
Usually I don't look at it until the end because you never know what's going to happen. I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't even know I was sucking in points. I didn't think I was running that good this year.
Well, I believe that if my calculations are right, you will be the new points that are going into Eldora, so congratulations on that. Sponsors, shoutouts, thank yous. What do you got, Steve?
I wanted to thank, let's see here. First off, you guys for the broadcast. What is it? I think it's Grant's girlfriend that sponsored us. Flatout Racing Network, and all the guys here that I'm racing against. It's a great group of guys.
Well, that's Steve Robbins. He finished his 2nd place here tonight, his 5th, or make that his 7th top 5 finish of the season. Congratulations, Steve. We look forward to seeing you carry this momentum into the remainder of the season, and as well, good luck in the late model race here momentarily.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you very much.
User was moved out of your channel.
And Grant Wesley came into this race only one of 2 drivers that had been to victory lane multiple times this season. The other one was Shane Yates, who had 3. Well, Grant Wesley now ties him for most wins, getting his 3rd win of the season. Let's see if we can get a word with him.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey, Grant, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Hey, guys.
Well, man, we just talked about the fact you're now up there tied for most wins this season. Your 3rd trip to victory lane, but What was going through your head when that late race yellow came out? Because you had such a sizable gap back to second place at the time.
Oh man, I was definitely on cruise control there for a little while. Me and Ryan, we had a pretty good race at the beginning of the race. We were rolling the bottom, and the bottom started to go away, so I just went ahead and moved up, and just kind of checked out because Ryan was still trying to run the bottom, and so anyway, yeah, that caution came out, and I was like, gosh, dang it, and the race was on from there.
Yeah, I mean, Grant, it was wild to see the back half of the field, but up front, I mean, you were on the high side for such a long time, and then we were starting to see there for the final 10 laps, a lot of bumping going on with that late caution with drivers trying to get by you. Was there any point that you're like, I'm just going to bump you out of the way if you hit me one more time?
Yeah, so that after that restart there with 9 to go, seeing Ryan in second, me and him usually put on a pretty good race, and I knew the slider was coming, and when I seen the slider coming, I mean, basically they were clean, and he's really good at them. He likes to time them just right where you kind of get to his bumper on exit, and it kind of screws up your momentum, but yeah, anyway, I got by him there, and I decided, well, heck, I'll just try rolling the bottom and see if I seen a little bit of moisture down there. I rolled that bottom, and I guess Ryan got into trouble, and then we had another restart, and that's when I seen Steve was in second, and he's another tough one, but I knew that the middle was a little bit quicker where Ryan and Steve was running, but I could defend a little bit better off the top, and that's where I was more comfortable at. So I just put it back up top, and luckily it worked out up there.
Grant, in the broadcast that we've done here for not only this series, but the series coming up, the late model series, we've seen where the driver that wins the street stock race, that momentum carries over into the late model race. I know there's a huge difference in the way those cars handle, but you're at the same venue. So what little tidbits here from the street stocks can you take moving over to the late model race momentarily?
I think you're going to see a lot of the same thing. I think the track's going to get pretty slick on the bottom again. I think the late models are going to be a little bit quicker through the middle. I think that towards the end of the race, I don't know, we'll just see, but I think that middle is going to be pretty good for those cars.
Well, Grant Wesley goes to victory lane for the third time this season in the Dirt Street Stock Series. Congratulations there, Grant. Thank you. Shout out sponsors. What do you got?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my girlfriend, Brittany. She sponsored tonight's event. And I'd like to thank the owners here at RTG, David Cannon, Terry Bauman, and Sean Prime. My fellow admins, Brian Hogue and Brian Ordo. I'd like to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. And then give a shout out to my mom and dad. I know they're watching again. And my girlfriend, Brittany. Thanks.
Well, that's Grant Wesley. He, one time this season, has been able to sweep an entire weekend. We'll see if he can do it here tonight. He's got a checkered flag already in the street stocks at Limaland. Hopefully, Grant, we'll see if we'll talk to you in victory lane here momentarily after the late model race.
Thanks.
User was moved out of your channel.
And so as these drivers are getting prepared and we're going to start swapping things over to that session, let's get some closing thoughts here, Sam. I mean, what we heard from Grant Wesley, we're going to see a lot of the same. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm expecting these guys to be trying to make a lot more slide job moves. Here with the street stocks, it's a lot slower, but we're going to be seeing a lot more quicker, and you're also going to be seeing a lot of drivers being a lot faster off of exit. So if you're going to make a slide job on someone, you better hope that it sticks, because they're going to do a crossover on you almost immediately.
Yeah, we only saw 3 cautions during the course of this race. A rather clean race for a dirt track, to be honest, especially with the hard racing. We saw 3 and 4 wide racing. The late models are a little bit more tender as well as far as contact. So do we see a lot more rubbing of doors like we saw here in the street stock race?
I mean, with how narrow this racetrack is, yeah, I'm expecting there to be a lot more bumping and banging with some of these cars. And honestly, we could be seeing a lot more cautions due to the fact that you're right, they're a lot more tender. These late model cars are not really built to be bumped around as much as the stock cars are. But, if you hit them just right, they still can work and they still will stick. But it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers react to the later this race.
Well, as we mentioned, Grant Wesley has swept a weekend before. That was 2 weeks ago when they were at Weed Sport Speedway. He's already won the street stock race here at Limaland. Can he follow it up with a late model win momentarily? We're going to be bringing you the 12th race of the season for the RTG Late Model Series in just a moment. We're going to step aside for a quick intermission, swap things over to that session, and then we'll be back for the heat races of that series. For Samuel Dyer and Seth Cole, stay tuned. Race 12 of the late models coming up in just a moment. It's now time for race number 12 of the RTG Dirt Late Model Series as we continue on our race weekend from Limaland Motorsports Park. Seth Cole alongside Samuel Dyer once again, and Sam getting ready here for these heat races. We touched on it just a little bit there at the end of the street stock race where we're expecting to see a lot more of the same of what we saw in the street stocks, but we got a lot more drivers here in these heats. However, we had only 5 maximum in the heats before. We got 8 in this first heat.
Yeah, we're only going to be having 2 heats today. The first one with 8 drivers, as you can see. Our second one's only going to have 6. So a lot of racing action as pace truck lights are off. We're going to be going this time by.
It's going to be Terry Bauman on point, Michael Massey to the outside, Tim DeSchwart and Ryan Amon, that's row 2, Mason Nichols, Patrick Spangler, row 3, then Brian Ordo and our winner from the street stock race, Grant Wesley, in 8th.
Michael Massey going to be trying to work that inside groove out, but right now, Massey going and taking off as Bauman going to be stuck in really nowhere to go. This is looking very similar on how we saw the street stocks earlier. His cars trying to shuffle as much as they can to be moving up front.
Oh, Bauman getting really loose there.
They're
Now we got
spinning in the
contact
back.
in the back. Was that Amon, I believe, that got into somebody there? They all keep it straight, however.
Tim Schwartz, someone to watch your eyes out on as he is going to be trying to make a move here. As Bauman as well as Massey making contact. Here comes Nichols now in that 55 machine.
Bauman putting up a pretty good fight right now, trying to take away whatever line these drivers try to run. Nichols blocked Michael Massey, who had to run on the top side. Here comes the Schwartz on the bottom.
And Grant Wesley's just kind of waiting and picking. His cars just keep on having their issues. But right now, Nichols is looking strong as he gets completely out of shape. Gets some help to get sideways into the wall as they all get collected behind.
Now remember, no caution will come out. We're racing to the checkers no matter what. Wesley, Massey, and Nichols were the 3 that got the extensive hits out of that one. They're all the way back in 6th through 8th. Bauman has a commanding lead for the moment over Brian Ordo.
Yeah, and Ordo's going to be trying to do everything he can, but right now, Terry Bauman got to make sure he just hits his marks. Don't get completely out of shape and just keep going, as Ahmed's going to be someone that someone we didn't see her in the street stocks, but right now, able to survive and right now running in 3rd place. As we're coming up to lap traffic on the white flag, Terry Bauman going to be getting our pole here for this featured event. As long as he can get through this corner just fine.
Oh boy, Brian Ordo drove it in deep, but he's not going to quite get there. Bauman's going to win the first heat as Mayhem breaks out behind him. Ordo 2nd, Amon in 3rd, then it's Wesley, Spangler, Nichols, and Massey. They will all make it back to the checkered flag. DeSchwart will be 8th. He did not make it back to the stripe. He actually was on pit road in the closing stages of this heat.
Heat 1's done. Heat 2 about to get gridded up. That was ridiculous. I mean, Terry Bauman, who got up into other drivers throughout that run, was able to continue to run well, and then found himself being the one car just pulling away from the rest of the field after the carnage behind him.
And this feels an awful lot like Same Song Second Chorus based off of what we had in the street stock race, because remember, DeSchwart had an issue in that one coming into that series as the points leader. Well, he comes into tonight's late model series standings as the points leader, and he was all the way back dead last in that first heat. The driver he has to worry about in this second heat is going to be Ryan Stillwell. Stillwell is 6 points back, 2nd in the standings. He'll be rolling off from 6th place in this heat behind Brandon Surratt and Brian Hogue the front row, Scott Monksgaard and Steve Robbins in row 2. Sean Kerrigan shares that 3rd row with Ryan Stillwell, and Martin Karch brings up the rear in 7th.
Yeah, Karch still, it doesn't matter what vehicle he's in on dirt, still has a factor to be up front. Ryan Stillwell, though, going to be in the back half, but still has a strong enough car to be moving up through the field. I'm interested also on Steve Robbins. Had a great run during the previous race to this. We'll see if we can carry that forward. Pace truck is off. Great flag out in the air.
We saw Terry Bauman from the pole of his heat race be able to win the first heat. We'll see if Brandon Surratt can do it here, starting pole in the second heat as they're 3 wide behind him. That's going to be, I believe, Martin Karch on the inside. Up the middle, Ryan Stillwell. Sean Kerrigan way on the top side.
That's going to be Karch as well. I mean, that's going to be Kerrigan and Stillwell that gets out of shape.
They never all went completely around, though.
No, I mean, they got into the outside wall, but that was terrifying with how much hard contact there was. As they continue to push forward, it's going to be Monksguard going to be on the inside of that 44 machine, trying to make a push for the lead. It looks like it might be done. We'll see the momentum from the outside, though.
And Steve Robbins back there running an even lower line. Brian Hogue running about a groove and a half up off the middle as Monksguard is clear for the lead going into turn 1.
Monksguard continues to try and push away as we're past the halfway marker of this second heat of the day. And right now, I mean, Monksguard looks good. I don't know if anyone else really can carry the speed, but Robin really throwing it in hard into that corner.
Looking for the second position behind them. Brian Hogue under fire.
Steven Robbins goes through the middle. Steve Robbins somehow snuck through both those cars and got out of shape through 1 and 2.
And they're still beating and banging as one car disappeared from a 4-wide situation. I think that was Karch. He has now reappeared, now disappears again, dealing with some connection issues. As Steve Robbins, I don't think his foot ever left the accelerator when that was happening ahead of him, and now he's pulled away on this final lap by about 4 car lengths.
You couldn't let off. You had to keep going. If you see a hole, you got to stick your nose in there, and it worked out great for Robin, who won the first heat back during the street stocks. Looks like he's going to be winning the heat here as long as he doesn't make a mistake, and that is a good win for Steven Robin.
Steve Robin, as you mentioned, started pole in the street stocks and finished second. He looks like he will start second here for the late models, as we had a great battle coming to the line there. It looked like 5th place was going to be Ryan Stillwell, so he'll be starting about mid-pack, and the driver he's trying to take the points lead from, Timothy DeSchwart, is going to be starting towards the rear of the field. So as opposed to what we had before in the street stock race, where the driver second in points was up front and the driver that was the points leader was way in the back, now both, it looks like, DeSchwart and Stillwell going to have some traffic to deal with.
Yeah, and you know, we're working with bigger vehicles this time around. Anywhere from 3 to 4 wide, it's going to be difficult. We saw it there during the heats, and it really didn't work out for 2 of the drivers. As we're now in warm-up session, interesting to see how this track is going to evolve compared to the street stocks. Street stocks a lot more of a slower car. Here with the late models, it's a lot faster. It's a lot more torque and rubber you're putting into the ground. We'll see how these cars can effectively get through this track for 50 laps.
Yep, another 50 laps for these drivers here with the late model cars. We're going to be watching that points battle between Timothy DeSchwart and Ryan Stillwell, as well as finding out if Grant Wesley can possibly complete the weekend sweep here at Limaland Motorsports Park. We're going to step aside for another commercial break here, as these drivers have about 3.5 minutes of warm-up before getting ready for the 50-lap feature. Don't go anywhere. We're going FRN side by side.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the veterans of foreign wars and fights for the veterans community.
Veterans of Foreign Wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Most everyone involved in sim racing always wants that edge or even make the experience a little bit better, or in this case, a little bit more in depth. Enter Iracing Iflag. Iflag is a simulation signal box with software designed by Peter Vostro. When you are behind the wheel in iRacing, your eyes are looking down the track or maybe even in the rear or side view mirrors. You may not notice or even hear when the caution comes out, when your car is damaged, or if you get black flagged, or even notice the car beside you. Yes, Iflag will point out the sides and tell you where that car is. It just makes iRacing more real and can help you become a better driver. We also offer iRacing Iflag Digital Pit Box. This small box is a great addition to any sim rig. With only 3.5 inches wide, it gives you all the information you need, including how many laps completed, how much fuel you will need to finish, what lap you need to pit on, laps till your fuel is empty, as well as weather and track conditions. It also switches when you come down pit road for more information, including what lap you're pitting under, tire wear, laps on tires, fuel average, and much, much more. To see more info, check us out today at iracingiflag.com.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans, every generation.
Welcome back here to Limaland Motorsports Park, getting ready for our second 50-lap feature of the night here for the late models. Terry Ballman, who won the first heat, starts on point alongside of our Heat 2 winner, Steve Robbins. And officially, the two drivers we're watching for the points battle, Ryan Stillwell, second in the points, going to be starting back in 10th. Timothy DeSchwart starts shotgun on the field back in the 15th position.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of wild action here. 15 drivers for 50 laps here at Limaland. And the sun's starting to go down. That means the track and really the way this track's going to evolve throughout the night, it's going to be a little bit different than what we were seeing with the street stocks. The surface might be able to last a little bit longer on that inside groove, but by the end of this race, everyone's expecting that outside line to the middle line be where you want to be.
We ended up having 3 cautions come out in the street stock race. One of them closing in on about 3 laps to go, setting us up for a doozy of a shootout. Do we see something similar like that here in terms of cautions, or just based on what we saw there in those heat races, do we maybe see a couple more yellow flags fly in this 50-lapper?
I'm kind of expecting there to be a lot more cautions to be thrown during this race. I'm expecting these drivers to be green for possibly 5 to 10 laps at most. So possibly anywhere from 5 to 8 cautions I've got bubbled for my race here today. But that's just because of how aggressive these cars are and how different they are from the street stocks. Street stocks, a little bit smaller, a little bit more stockier, can take a beating. These things, a little bit longer, and if you hit them just right, they're going right around.
Well, Ryan Stillwell, as we mentioned, is trying to take the points lead away from Timothy DeSchwart. DeSchwart has 1 win this season. Stillwell has 3. Grant Wesley, who's trying to go for the weekend sweep, has 4 in the series, looking for his league-leading 5th. Green flags in the air, and we're racing at Limaland.
As these drivers get going, we're going to have to see, can Terry Ballman do us anything but
we got a flipper already!
And believe that was going to be Spangle. That was the car that went flipping there on the start. That is incredible.
Wow.
They just went green, and immediately, I mean, the front bumpers of these things obviously can flip a car easily. It's like a ramp. And that's exactly what happened to the time machine. Got flipped over by the 55 of Nichols, and man, already starting on a great note.
Yeah, definitely did not expect to see that first caution come out. Lap 1, turn 1. There you see it. It almost looked like Nichols got a little bit of a shove from behind by Michael Massey, and that's what sent him into the 10. Just a bunch of stacking up going on there into turn 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And, you know, all the cars here in the first couple of laps want to get on the inside. That's where you feel like you can make the most moves here at the start. But, I mean, here on lap 1, you can only get so much. And as we can see, the caution laps are not counting. So this is going to be a long race if we wreck every single lap.
Well, we saw in the street stock race Michael Massey not be able to make the start, but he was able to get on track, get his laps back, and got a top 5. Martin Karch in 33 did not make the start, but he is probably going to get his laps back at some point here, having to start from pit road as Steve Robbins swinging around the outside, looking to take the lead. Look at 4 wide, 5 wide on the front stretch.
Derek Bauman just could not get off as the cars are all still scattered around. But it's going to be Robbins up front. Orno going to be trying to make a move. And Serge is going to be trying to make a charge also on the outside. But really looking at the cars, Stillwell, biggest mover up front as we're
Watch out the front, watch out the front. We had the 45 we were focused on here, Michael Massey. He and Martin Karch had gotten together. He was trying to get the car refired over in turn 4, and I was wondering when the leaders were going to start closing in. Fortunately, just when they entered into the turn 3 vicinity, race officials throwing the caution.
And just looking to see, cars had to slow up. One of the cars had to spin around there. Looking to see who that was. I believe that was
69. Yeah.
Bauman was up front in the top 5, but had to come to a screeching halt and spin it around, trying not to hit the standstill car there of Massey.
Nichols, Karch, and Massey were the ones that got involved in that spin over there in 3 and 4, and then here come the race leaders. And one thing we were talking about during the warm-up, Sam, that we expected to come into play that didn't in the street stocks that I think led to that spin is those tires jutting out. You mentioned the front end of these cars, it's almost like a shovel, like a snow plow. The street stocks, they had a high enough suspension, they were able to just go over those tires.
Yeah, no, if you hit those tires, they're just in the ground, the white tires that you can see on the inside. If you hit it with the nose, there's a chance it's going to jet you around and just completely pull you out of where you were running. Pace truck is off. Green flag back in the air. Robin and Orno going to be trying to make a charge up front. Stillwell, like I said, up to 3rd. This 9 machine wants to get up front, wants to get a win now.
And he almost had some contact there between himself and Brian Orno off of turn 2. Now tries the inside again. They're off of turn 4. Can't make it stick just yet. Orno on the inside is going to go to the lead.
Yeah, just like we saw Terry Blauman be able to hold on the inside and just carry forward. That's what we're seeing from Orno, showing that the inside is running so well right now. But like we saw with the street stocks, the inside line is where a lot of drivers were able to run. And then about after 10 to 15 laps, that outside lane groove started to work itself in. Expect to see a similar thing, maybe around lap 6. This car's already getting sideways to the middle of the track.
I believe that might have possibly been Tim DeSchwart in the 49. I think he and Martin Karch made some contact. Caution's out.
Entry of turn number 3.
Whoa. And some contact there with the race leader, Brian I'm sorry, that was actually 14 of Brian Hogue, as Massey was trying to get his car refired.
So originally, this spin was from Terry Blauman and Michael Massey that started back on the exit of turn 2. And then once they tried to get fired up, they came back onto the track in front of our leaders, and that's why the yellow was thrown.
I think they almost hit the light post there in the infield.
Yeah, and that light post is not forgiving if you make that contact. As it looks like Blauman as well as the 49 machine continue to just be having fun in the back half of the field.
And look at this. 69 swings just around the light post. The 45 comes to a stop just in front of it. That could have been really bad for either of these guys or both of them.
Yeah, no, because if they hit that light pole, you don't know where your car is going to really go. It could be shooting to the infield where you're away from traffic, or it could shoot you back onto the track where we had oncoming of our leaders. So it was one of those luckily no one was involved type of things, but drivers in the pits trying to get their laps back. Looks like Michael Massey going to get back onto the lead lap, leaving us with 50 cars who started this race and still running at the moment.
Yeah, Martin Karch with that caution able to get his laps back that he lost, missing the start of this race. So all 15 cars still running. It looks like Massey may have been the only driver so far that has utilized a fast repair up to this point. Of course, as we mentioned in the street stocks, it applies to here for the late models as well. One fast repair available to these drivers, and only one is the green flag back in the air, and Stillwell was ready.
Yeah, Stillwell just took off on the inside. It looked like Bordeaux trying to make that outside line work, and he's starting to see that outside lane getting a little bit more momentum, but you kind of get stalled out as Stillwell slides in front of the 71.
Man, things are wadded up though. Contact there between Stillwell and Ordo. More contact there out of turn 4, and you've got turn 2 rather. You've got Hogue back here. Robbins. Oh, contact! Robbins gets spun around off of the nose of Amon.
Yeah, and just like that, Amon gonna be nowhere to go except for just a run into Stillwell. No, actually, that wasn't Stillwell. That was, believe, the 14 possibly there. But man, hard contact between those drivers.
Well, you talked about it. You expected to see a lot more take and less give in this one. And maybe some of this can be attributed to what we know with these late miles, a little bit slower speed. And so there's an easier chance to drive it in deeper. Put more throttle into it when you're going into the corner. And with these drivers on these restarts in close proximity, a lot of those holes, they just close up.
Well, also, we're on these restarts. I mean, this is the closest you're going to be until we start to get spread out on a long green flag run. And based on the fact that everyone is really just trying to gain as many positions as possible, throwing their car to the inside, when someone gets stalled out and kind of gets a little bit too sideways, they just slow down and just become a block for everyone else, and they have nowhere else to go. Pace truck is off, and we are green once again as Ryan Stillwell leads the way. Ryan Ordo and Ho, your top 3.
Saw there on that replay, though, the guy that's been unfortunate a couple of times here of being in the wrong lane of the car that spun out is Terry Baum, and we saw him earlier almost have to avoid a car, and he almost had to avoid as well the spun out car of Amon that last time around. It's Stillwell showing the way. Ordo in second, Hogue right now in third, fourth place, that's Grant Wesley trying to go 2 for 2 here tonight, and all the top 2, second, third, now fourth have all wrecked.
More cars Amon involved as well as cars just keep scattering in, and that is probably going to cause a lot of cars to come in and want to use a fast repair.
Oh, I'm not sure what happened right there, but I just briefly saw the 14 of Hogue and the 71 of Ordo. They were up on top of each other, and then I think it was Grant Wesley and whoever was behind him, they made contact trying to avoid. So those were at least 3, maybe 4 drivers up inside your top 5 that were involved in that wreck.
Yeah, I mean, it all started coming out of 4, where it looks like Bordeaux just got extremely out of shape. And then Hogue right there to run up under him, and when Bordeaux finally got straightened out, he was on top of the 14's machine. But now from this point on, no more double file restarts, single file from this point on.
That was Nichols in the 55 that got into Grant Wesley, and you saw the contact you alluded to, Sam, that late hit by the 87 of Amon right to the front end of the 14 of Brian Hogue, who indeed did take a fast repair. Believe it or not, he was the only one that took a fast repair here under this yellow.
Yeah, a lot of drivers thinking, hey, we need to save our fast repairs for later on, or we could just test and see how damaged is this vehicle. Pace truck is off. Ryan Stillwell takes us off again, and here comes Brian Ordo trying to follow suit. Grant Wesley, though, he's been working his way up very slowly, now up to third.
And a driver I've been noticing that's been maybe the highest on the track through these corners has been that 73 of Brandon Surratt, right now running in the 7th position, battling with Scott Monksgaard for 6th. We'll see if that upper groove comes into play here in the later stages of this race, as right now it just seems like most of our front runners very committed to the lower middle to the inside lane.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's going to be, Surratt as well as Robbins working that outside groove, waiting for the time that outside groove finally clicks, and then they start taking off. And I think at that point, once you see our front row seeing that outside line start moving, that's when we're going to see a lot of cars start just slowly drifting up into the middle and high grooves. But right now, Stillwell just sticking and committed to that low line. This is kind of this disadvantage of being the leader, though, is you find what works for you for the first couple of laps, and you just stay there. And then once you start seeing a car possibly gaining up on you, that's when you got to change what lane you're in.
Yeah, when you're the race leader, searching is the least of your concerns. Everybody else behind can use you as a comparison of, am I losing time or am I gaining time? So great point there. With Stillwell out in front leading this race, we're going to drop back and just cover the Timothy DeSchwartz situation. Right now, he's currently in the 8th position, battling with Martin Karch for 7th. As things stand right now, Timothy DeSchwartz could lose the points lead in both series in one night.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how one night can change a lot about a driver's point standings. Right now, Grant Wesley and Mason Nichols going to be right on top of one another. And right now, Wesley trying to make this middle lane work, but he's kind of getting caught up in kind of a similar situation that Hogue was in, where Ordo kind of becomes a block coming on the exit of these corners, where Grant Wesley really wants to start going.
These are two drivers that were in the top 3 finishers from our street stock race earlier tonight. Nichols finished in 3rd. Wesley, of course, won that race. And that Brian Ordo right now, being more of a hindrance than a help to Grant Wesley, finally going to find a way to the outside. Almost had to go up into the wall to make that work.
And you just see the speed that the 88 gets coming out of the corner. It's so quick, but it's such a short straightaway. He really can't utilize that momentum as much as he would like to.
Okay, well, I asked you about the street stocks and their durability with taking shots to the outside wall. Right on board here with Grant Wesley. You see right there, he was into the wall on the back straightaway. So, you know, we talk about how these cars are a little bit more delicate, but can they survive those hits into the outside wall?
And they can take about a couple of hits. I mean, if you start really digging into it and seeing that spoiler get dented up, that's when you're really in trouble. You got to worry about Terry Blahman, though, at the moment, looks like he's running what Ryan Stillwell's lane was, and Stillwell might be losing time on the guys behind him.
Forcing Stillwell to change up his groove as he will clear Terry Bauman, putting him a lap down. Behind Terry Bauman, though, you still got this battle for second, and this is going to be between Ordo and Wesley as Terry Bauman nearly loses it in front of him.
Yeah, this is where he's going to lose it again, possibly here. He's just gets so sideways in front of these cars. He just stops practically in front of everyone. As everyone else is carrying the momentum, that car just goes nowhere. Stillwell, loving that action, just continues to gap the rest of the field.
Second through 5th literally tiptoed their way around Terry Bauman there. They were coasting to try and make their way safely around the 69. They finally have cleared. How about the 44 of Scott Monksgaard? Great performance for him here tonight. Right now, holding down the top 5.
Yeah, right now, doing a great job. Also, back in our 7th place, Spangles went flipping in the start of this race. Right now, running in 7th place.
Yeah, Spangler, if I recall correctly, actually after his flip didn't even come down pit road, get any repairs done. So one of those kind of flips where it was a harmless flip with no damage. You rarely see those, but apparently that was the case. Still holding down a solid spot of 7th place. And if we drop back here just a little bit further, you got a couple of drivers who had some good runs going early on, but have now lost track position, and that's Steve Robbins, who just got into Amon. He's now facing the wrong way, and the caution will come out.
Oh, in contact with it looks like that might have been Terry Blahman with the 073, and our leaders coming in. Ordo able to still hold off Grant Wesley. Man, that is... I think that's kind of needed for the fact that our leader, Stillwell, was coming up to the end of that lead, of the lead laps, and was about to put a lot of cars a lap down, but it was going to be a lot of work, as now we are less than 20 laps to go here, Seth. It's only going to ramp up from here, as now everyone's going to be racked up, stacked up a little bit more, and excited to see how these final couple of laps are going to go.
Yeah, but when we talk to drivers, when it comes to dirt track races like this, they don't want to see that caution after a long green flag run because they've gotten themselves into a rhythm. Then running under pacing, they've got to get back to that timing again.
Yeah, no, their whole entire rhythm completely is thrown off for sure, because now you got to be figuring out, okay, well, this worked, but what line is this other driver going to be running? Can I run the inside anymore? Is that even viable, or do I have to run the outside groove? We're past halfway marker. A lot of drivers are now going to be making that transition from the inside to the high side. Pace truck is off. Stillwell about to get a great launch. Here comes Ordo trying to follow suit. Grant Wesley and Nichols following as well.
Looks like it's going to be Stillwell getting a pretty good advantage here, about maybe 2-3 car lengths off of turn 2. Battle's going to be for the 3rd position. Wesley way up top again. Nichols on the bottom.
Yeah, Nichols trying to do everything he can, and right now Grant Wesley doing exactly what he was doing before, go to the high side, try to make this work. Watching the cars that are going to be on the high side as well in the back half of the field. Patrick Spangler is going to be on the high side, basically just wall riding with how high he is. But right now, Stillwell, he's trying to pull away as much as he can, but remember, it was that incident with Terry Blahman that allowed him just to get a massive lead on the rest of the field.
And you watch the way that Grant Wesley is approaching these corners. He's going up to the wall, but not in the wall. I remember back I want to say it was Charlotte. the Charlotte dirt track, when we talked with Grant Wesley, he said the one thing on this car that you
Yellow
want to... Oh, you're right. It's going to be Timothy DeSchwartz, the points leader.
DeSchwartz gonna be involved in this one, and it looks like it possibly was with the 10 machine. A little bit of contact maybe as they were coming through 3 and 4.
And as we watch this replay here, we'll see where he's going to hit. And this goes back to the point I was going to make, because Wesley said the one area of this race car you want to preserve is that rear spoiler, because that's your downforce, your ability to be able to turn into the corner but be able to straighten it back up on exit. That damage sustained on the 49 was mostly to the back end and to that spoiler region.
Yeah, also a little bit of front end damage after being clipped by another car. But Tim DeSchwartz gonna have to figure out how to really, does he come into the pits? Does he get repairs done? A lot of questions for some of these drivers. If you're in the back half and you've already been involved in other accidents, you might as well use your fast repair probably now or within 10 laps to go. As you know, based off the Street Stock series, we could be finding ourselves with a caution with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, but at the same time, we also could see ourselves going green to the end. And so if you haven't come down and taken on that fast repair, there goes your opportunity, because it may be the last chance you have to come down pit road. As Stillwell, he tried to catch Grant Wesley off guard, and he may have done so. Wesley tried to anticipate it.
Yeah, it just takes a while for that outside line to finally get going. It takes about a lap, because then they finally get to full speed and it finally can take off from these corners. But how well? Stillwell has been staying on the bottom for too long. He's been drifting a little bit more to the middle lane on entry compared to what he was doing before. But is that enough? As Grant Wesley just sticking to the high side and trying to carry as much momentum as possible, but Stillwell starting to recognize he's got to move up, and that's what he's been doing through 3 and 4.
Yeah, we've seen Grant Wesley at dirt tracks really like that outside line, but we know in the closing stages he will not be afraid to throw it down to the inside to try and win this race, looking for his 5th win of the season in this series and looking for the weekend sweep as he continues to battle with Brian Ordo. Ordo is able to get alongside of him, then loses the momentum off the corner, but he keeps coming back.
Yeah, I mean, Ordo's been doing a great job. As you see there, Wesley's just ditching the outside lane there through 1 and 2. He's trying the inside. He's trying to find any type of grip at this point. Find any speed to try to run down this 9 machine, because the outside has not been working the last couple of laps.
We were 3 wide back here for the 6th position. Michael Massey, Martin Karch, and Patrick Spangler. That is now settled out, with Karch and Spangler now battling for 7th place. Looks like for the moment about the top 6 cars have gotten themselves single filed out. Now battle bruised. That's going to be between Mason Nichols and the 55, trying to get 3rd from Brian Ordo. He loses the momentum. Here comes Monksguard.
Monksguard gonna be trying to make it work up there, but just, it's one of those days of the outside lane can only do so much up front. Stillwell slowly chipping and losing that lead, as really Grant Wesley's trying everything to run down this 9 machine.
And now we've got the cat and mouse game between the 9 and the 88. Stillwell will run high, Wesley goes to the bottom. I think he may have gotten the tire there. That lost him a ton of momentum through 1 and 2.
The momentum is lost, but he can get it back on the high side, coming with a lot of speed. And it's all about coming into these corners with all that speed. That's why he's had such a low entry through 1 and 2, because he's carrying all that speed. He's trying to move that momentum through the corner. But here comes Blumman, who's going to be a lap car here as we're coming 2 laps to go. Will we see that 69 car be a factor here coming to the end?
We're going to have to wait and see. Ryan Stillwell, 2nd in points, leading this race. The driver is trying to take the points lead from Timothy DeSchwartz. Still mired back in 13th position. Has only picked up 2 spots since going back green. Nearly contact back there. That was Monksguard, Mason Nichols, and Martin Karch, all in close proximity.
That was the move I think that Wesley had. I don't think he's got enough anymore. Ryan Stillwell coming across the line will get the win here tonight.
Ryan Stillwell will get his 2nd win of the season. Make that his 4th win of the season. More importantly, he'll be taking the points lead into Eldora next week, trying to make a championship bid. And Ryan Stillwell had to fight his way up to the lead, but once he got it, nobody was really able to wrestle it away from him.
You know, Grant Wesley tried everything he could. He tried the outside, tried the inside. There was just no lane that was fast enough to get to the 9 car and be able to make the pass. Brian Ordo, though, he just stayed consistent, stayed on that middle to low line, and just was running his lane until it came to the end. Ryan Stillwell, though, like you said, got to the lead. No one else could touch him.
Yeah, Brian Ordo coming into tonight's race was tied for the fewest amount of top fives of those inside of the top 6. He gets his 4th top 5 finish of the season here tonight. And Grant Wesley, so close, came up a second flat of capturing the weekend sweep here tonight in the street stocks and the late miles, but gave it quite a charge there with around 2 laps to go.
Yeah, Tim DeShorts, though, I mean, that is not the way that he wanted this race to go with street stocks, nor here with the late models, finishing back in 12th place when he really had what was looking like a top 10 car.
Yeah, it's certainly a weekend that Tim DeShort's going to want to forget, as he'll be the one now trying to get back up to the points lead, not only in the late model series, but in the street stocks as well, where he lost the points lead over there in the earlier race. DeShort going to officially finish in the 12th position. Spangler finished a lap down in 14th. I don't know if he got involved in a wreck there in the closing stages or not, but he's going to be finishing a lap down along with Terry Bauman in the 69 machine, who started this race from the pole position.
As we look at our top 3, Ryan Stillwell, I mean, just a brilliant race for himself as we find ourselves getting ready for interviews here.
And it came down the closing stages between 2 drivers that have the most wins in the series this season. A driver that would have loved to have seen the 2 of them make contact to pick up his first win of the season is our 3rd place finisher, Brian Ordo.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey Brian, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you. How you doing tonight?
Well, we're doing good, man. A great run for you here tonight. Your 4th top 5 finish of the season. You guys went green for those final 12 laps or so. Did you expect this to go green to the end, or did you expect a late race caution? And how did you have strategy planned accordingly?
I had no strategy. I was just trying to hang on. That track got really slick.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, it was fun for us to watch, but at one point, you and Hogue had a little bit of a scuffle. How was that on your end, and did you feel like that hindered your car in any moment?
I don't know. Next thing you know, I was looking up at the sky, and I turned around. I was going back again, and I'm like, okay, the car's still good. I'm not pitting. Let's go.
You know, we saw a lot of you guys searching for grip the longer this race went on. Was it easy to find grip here in the closing stages, or did you really have to do a lot of searching? Because we saw a lot of multiple lanes being used when we got into the second half of this race.
Well, once Grant got past me, I was just hanging on. I was trying to find a decent line to get a little bit of grip, but the track was so slick it was all throttle after that.
Well, obviously a great run for you here tonight, though, Brian. A 3rd place performance here at Limaland. Congratulations. We're going to turn the microphone over to you and let you do some shout-outs.
I just want to thank everybody at RTG, Brittany, Brian Hogue for hosting the series, or putting up the money for it, and I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Well, that's Brian Ordo. He's going to finish 3rd place here tonight. Once again, congratulations. This more than likely is going to move you back into the top 5 in points, and hopefully you can carry this momentum into the final 4 races of the season.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great night.
User was moved out of your channel.
Well, he didn't get the weekend sweep, but he gets back-to-back top 2 finishes here tonight at Limaland. Let's talk to tonight's runner-up finisher, Grant Wesley.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey, Grant, it's Sam and Seth up here again in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, I mean, we know you were pretty committed there on that long run to that outside line. Then we saw you try and find something a little bit short around the racetrack on that inside line. What little more did you need to be able to get up there into the vicinity of that 9 car to have him on that final lap?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know. There, the last 5 laps, I was searching everywhere. There through the middle of the race, like you said, I was committed to the top. The top was pretty good. And then we had that late restart, and Ryan he kind of gapped me there by 5 or 6 cars, and I decided to, I stayed up top for about a lap and a half, and I just wasn't closing on him. And I seen he was running the middle, and I was like, well, maybe I can try the bottom. And basically, that's when I just started trying everything, and everything I tried, I just kind of hang there with him. I couldn't find anything that would catch him or be able to pass him with.
Yeah, Grant, I mean, tonight we had 2 late cautions with the street stocks and here with the late models. Is it hard to just get back into a rhythm after having a late caution come out?
Yeah, it definitely upsets things a little bit, changes the tone of the race a little bit. It's like Darrell Waltrip's always said, cautions breed cautions, and there's a lot of truth to that.
You know, we saw there in the closing stage of this race as well, you and the 9 car kind of playing a little bit of cat and mouse. You'd go to the low side, he'd take the high side. You go to the high side, he'd go to the low side. We see this happen at the 1.5 2 mile race tracks. How difficult is it to play that kind of a strategy game at a dirt track?
I mean, that's pretty much the name of the game. You know, that's the only way you can pass the person in front of you is to run where they're not. And, you know, and basically if there's no other way of doing it, you got to do a slider on them. So, yeah, you know, he was searching and I was searching, and he ended up on top there.
Well, Grant, we know you would have liked to have had the weekend sweep here, but great numbers here tonight at Limaland to win the street stock. Second place here tonight in the late miles. Congratulations. One final time, we're going to turn the microphone over and let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, thanks, Brittany, for sponsoring tonight's race. I'd like to thank the owners at RTG, David Cannon, Terry Bauman, and Sean Prime. My fellow admins, Brian Hogue and Brian Ordo, and Terry helps out quite a bit, too, as an owner. I'd like to thank you guys. You guys do an awesome job with the broadcasts. And, yep, that's it.
Well, that's Grant Wesley. Brings home second place here tonight in the late miles. Once again, congratulations there, Grant, and maybe you'll get that 5th win next week.
Thanks.
User was moved out of your channel.
And a driver that got his 4th win of the season here tonight is down in victory lane. Let's talk with Ryan Stillwell.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey, Ryan, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network Studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Well, man, as soon as we saw you get to the front of the field, nobody was able to get around you. And we were talking about the fact that being the race leader, you're basically committed to one groove. Everybody else is searching, but it almost looked like there in the closing stage of this race, you were searching as well.
I wasn't searching so much as I was chasing the moisture. Early on there, whenever the bottom started getting a little locked down and a little harder to drive, I saw a lot of moisture up in the mid-range and exit through both corners. So I started creeping up there for off corner, and I was just kind of following it all the way up. So as high as it was going, and there towards the end, there wasn't much. So I just kept moving up and up and up on center and exit.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, we saw that you had to start back in 10th place. You had to work your way through all that traffic. It looked so difficult just to make any types of moves. Once you got to the lead, like we said, you really were stuck there. But how was it getting through traffic?
It was pretty hairy. It paid off that I made a pretty bold move to dodge one guy, and we were 4 wide, I think, maybe coming off. I'd love to watch it back. I don't know how wide we were, but I know there was at least 3 of us, if not 4, maybe even 5. But I stuck it in there. It stuck, and I got by about 4 cars, and from then on, it was just a matter of picking them off one by one.
You know, Ryan, earlier on this season, you were on a tear, winning 3 of the first 6 races, and we know the consistency has been kept up since you were in the conversation here tonight to take the points lead, which you indeed have now with this, your 4th win of the season. But it was a little bit of time between this win and your last win back at Eldora. So how good does it feel to get back in victory lane?
It feels pretty good, you know, especially with I was running really good there tonight in the street stocks, and unfortunately I got spun, which was a racing deal, you know. It was just hard racing, but that just seems to be my luck in the street stocks. I've had a little bit better luck in the pros here of late, but still pretty bad, running 4th, 5th. But tonight I knew I had a rocket, and I knew I had to get it to the front.
Well, you certainly did have a rocket, and you put it in victory lane here tonight at Limaland. Congratulations there, Ryan, and we look forward to seeing if you can carry this momentum into the final 4 races of the season, including Eldora next week, which you've already taken a checkered flag at earlier on this year. We're going to now let you do some shout-outs.
I'd like to thank all the admins and of RTG and everything for putting on a great show with a great group of guys. They do a great job. You guys do a wonderful on the broadcast too, so I'd like to thank you guys too. And then Brittany for paying for the broadcast tonight. And I told you Grant was not winning too, Brittany. I told you. And that's about it.
Well, his words hold true then. That's Ryan Stillwell. He gets his 4th win of the season here tonight. He'll also take the points lead in Eldora next week. Once again, congratulations on your win here tonight, Ryan, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys.
User was moved out of your channel.
Well, Sam, I think that definitely when I need advice about what a race is going to be like, I'm going to come to you because I think your crystal ball was right. We saw more cautions here tonight, a little bit more aggressive racing in the late miles than we saw in the street stocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that these vehicles are built so differently. Like we saw with the street stocks, they're built to be durable, make some contact. Here with these late models, the nose is a lot longer. It's a little lower, and kind of built like a ramp. Like we saw multiple cars flipping and having issues with their nose. It's just one of those things. Limaland, though, brought great action both for the street stocks and here for the pro late models.
You know, if we take a look at the psyche of drivers for both series heading into next week at Eldora, obviously Steve Robbins with a second-place finish in street stocks, taking the points lead there. Ryan Stillwell, the win here tonight, taking the points lead in the late models. Obviously, they've got to be feeling pretty confident going into these final few races. But what about Timothy DeSchwart? I mean, the guy came in leading the point stands in both series. Yes, it was a minute amount of points, but he still had the points lead. And very disappointing finishes here tonight at Limaland, loses the points lead in both of them. I mean, how do you get yourself back into the game going to Eldora next week?
I mean, honestly, it starts with the heat races. You got to have a good heat race going into those races at Eldora. You got to make sure you hit your marks and that you win there. If you cannot win during the heats, you just got to reset and just try to survive, because these last two races, like we saw, you just caught up in wrecks that really were hairy spots to be in. It was in the middle of a whole bunch of basically a hornet's nest in the middle of the field, but everyone's trying to move forward. Some cars are dropping back. It's a lot of stay focused and hope for the next one to be better.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be certainly interested to watch this down the home stretch and see who's going to be walking away with the respective championships in the Street Stock Series and the Late Model Series for RTG. But that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight from Limaland Motorsports Park. It is Grant Wesley winning the street stocks, Ryan Stillwell capturing the checkered flag in the late models. Two really exciting 50-lap events here tonight at this short track dirt track. Sam, I appreciate you joining me for both events. Been a good one.
It's always a pleasure to be up in the booth, and it's great whenever they put on shows like they did here.
Hope that everybody enjoyed our coverage here tonight as well. Here from Limaland, for Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening here from Limaland Motorsports Park for RTG. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.